Mind reading present. Building a joyful life, 10 habits to ditch for lasting happiness. Everyone has bad habits. The real question is how it affects our lives and the lives of those around us. When we talk about toxic habits, we are talking about habits that harm ourselves and those around us. They are also contagious. Not all toxic habits are the same. Although all tend to have a negative impact on us, yet some of them are worse than others. And that brings us to the heart of today's article. Let's look at the toxic habits that prevent us from enjoying lasting happiness. 1. Negative. Negativity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means that if you predict the worst will happen, it is more likely to happen. The problem is that it is dangerous and can attack us when we least expect it. That's why we need to keep an eye on our thoughts and be aware of them, which many people do by practicing mindfulness. If you find yourself thinking negatively, the best thing to do is to turn that thought into something positive. Instead of thinking, "I'm going to fail the assessment I'm going to take," start thinking, "I'm looking forward to the challenges I'm going to face in this assessment." 2. Being overly critical. Criticism is often seen as part of negativity, but this is not always the case. You've probably heard constructive criticism, and that's the key. The idea is to give suggestions that allow people to get better, build on them, not destroy them. It's also important to choose your moments and only give people this kind of feedback if they ask for it. And whatever you do, don't just criticize for the sake of criticizing. Remember that you get back what you give, so if you seem too critical and just find fault, it will come back to you. You should not be surprised if people start criticizing you, and it will not bring lasting happiness. 3. Delay. Procrastination may not seem like a toxic habit at first, but be patient. The problem with procrastination is that it prevents us from reaching our full potential. A lot of happiness comes from the feeling of accomplishment we get from a job well done, but we can't feel it if we never get something done, because we're busy procrastinating. It's important to know that we all experience procrastination to some degree, and that doesn't make us bad people. The most important thing is whether you are able to overcome the urge to procrastinate and get things done. 4. Perfectionism. Perfectionism is the ugly twin of procrastination. Perfectionists don't necessarily procrastinate, so they'll usually go ahead and work on getting the job done. The problem is that they will be so desperate to do a good job that doing it will stop them from reaching the finish line. My partner is a perfectionist, and that means I'm well aware of how bad a trait can be. He's about to embark on a project that could potentially make his life 10 times happier. But because he's a perfectionist, he'll decide that he can't afford it and leave him. 5. Overthinking. It's one that I struggle with myself. At least, I think so. People who think too much are more prone to analysis paralysis, a phenomenon we experience when we are given so many choices that we cannot choose between them. This happens everywhere. From the moment we choose a bottle of wine to the moment we choose an internet service provider. The problem with overthinking people is that, even after they make up their minds, they tend to keep thinking about them. They cannot achieve lasting happiness because they cannot stop thinking about their decisions and whether the decisions they take are correct. 6. Resist change. Change is a constant in our lives, and if we want to find lasting happiness, we must accept it. If we try to resist change by retaining everything we have, we will face disappointment. It's like trying to swim against the current, and the water will eventually catch up with us. Instead of forcing ourselves to reject the inevitable, it is better that we learn to practice acceptance. By doing this, we can learn to deal with changes and adapt to those changes when we face other situations. 7. Holding grudges. Holding grudges is not the way to find lasting happiness. This reminds me of gang wars, where one person gets shot and another person gets shot in retaliation, and so on until it escalates into a full-blown gang war. No one wins. Not all grudges are extreme, But this example will give you an idea of why it's not a good idea to hold grudges. It is not the way to find happiness, neither now nor in the future. Even if you make up for your grudges, it won't make you happy. Instead, learn to practice forgiveness. 8. Self-sabotage. Self-sabotage occurs when we are so convinced that we will fail, that we ourselves confirm it. For example, if you enter a talent competition but you don't think you'll win it, you probably won't practice or try your best to perform at your best. Back when I was working at a company, I saw people sabotaging themselves all the time. When they came in for job interviews, we had a good idea who we wanted to hire from their resumes. But then they did a bad job at the interview and we wouldn't accept it. The bottom line is that if you want to be happy and successful, you need to build yourself up, not put yourself down. 9. Avoiding responsibility. At some point in our lives, we all have to start taking responsibility for ourselves. This is especially true when it comes to lasting happiness, because the world owes you nothing. If you want happiness, you need to figure out what will make you happy, then go out and get it. This means holding yourself accountable, and accountable for your own happiness. Plus, if you avoid responsibility for things like going to work and paying bills, you'll eventually get kicked out and live on the streets. That's definitely not a recipe for lasting happiness. 10. Lack of purpose. If you avoid responsibility, you won't set any goals either. Goals are important because they give you something to work towards. And if you have something to work on, then it will be easier for you to get out of bed in the morning. Without goals, you just go on autopilot, stumbling blindly through life with no real goals and no goals to achieve. It's no surprise, then, that purposeless people tend not to feel lasting happiness. Conclusion. Now that you know which toxic habits are preventing you from enjoying lasting happiness, you're ready to say goodbye to it. Remember that life is a journey of self-improvement, and there are many opportunities for us to improve ourselves. If we want lasting happiness, it is within our grasp. All we have to do is say goodbye to toxic habits that hold us back. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so we can keep making them. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and remember to click on the notification bell. Also, be sure to check out our other videos as well. Thanks for watching.